The rain was falling softly over the small town that evening and the streets glistened under the dim yellow glow of the streetlights. Inside a modest diner on the corner, the scent of fresh coffee and baked bread filled the air. Sarah moved between tables with her familiar rhythm. She was 26 years old with kind eyes and a quiet smile that made even the weariest customers feel welcome. Her hair was tied back in a loose ponytail and her uniform, though worn, was always clean and pressed. The dinner rush had slowed when the bell above the door rang and she looked up to see a tall man step inside pushing a wheelchair in front of him. The girl in the chair was maybe 8 years old with delicate features and a blanket draped over her legs. Her hands rested in her lap and her head tilted slightly to one side as she looked around the room. Her eyes were bright but her body was still, and Sarah could tell she had a disability that made movement difficult. The man guided the wheelchair to a table near the window. He was dressed in a dark coat and his hair was slightly damp from the rain. There was something in the way he looked at his daughter that caught Sarah's attention. It was protective yet tender, and there was also a hint of fatigue in his posture, as if he carried the weight of many long days and nights. She approached with her usual warm smile and set down 2 menus. "Welcome to Maple Street Diner," she said gently. "My name is Sarah. Can I get you something to drink while you decide?" The man looked up and his eyes met hers for a moment. They were a deep shade of brown and held a quiet intensity. "Water for both of us, please," he said. His voice was low and calm. Sarah turned to the little girl. "And for you, sweetheart, would you like a hot chocolate?" The girl's lips curved into a faint smile and she nodded slowly. Sarah felt a warmth in her chest at that small reaction. When she returned with the drinks, she noticed the man was carefully reading through the menu, but the girl's eyes were fixed on the steaming mug in front of her. Sarah set it down and gently wrapped the child's small fingers around the handle. Her hands were cool to the touch. She guided the mug toward her lips with patient movements, making sure she could sip without spilling. The girl's face lit up as the sweetness touched her tongue. "Her name is Lily," the man said softly. "She cannot feed herself easily, so I help her." Sarah knelt down beside the table. "I can help if you like. I have a little cousin with cerebral palsy. I know how to assist." The man hesitated for a moment as if unsure whether to trust a stranger, but Lily's eyes were still on Sarah and there was a spark there. Slowly he nodded. When the food arrived, Sarah took a seat beside Lily and began cutting the pancakes into small pieces. She lifted each forkful with gentle care, waiting between bites so the girl could chew at her own pace. Lily's gaze never left Sarah's face. Sometimes she made a soft sound that was almost like a laugh. The man watched silently. There was something in his expression that suggested he was seeing more than just a waitress helping a child. He seemed to be absorbing every detail of how Sarah moved and spoke. The way she never rushed. The way she praised Lily after each bite. The way she wiped a small drop of syrup from her chin with a napkin. It had been years since anyone outside of family had treated his daughter like this. Not with pity or impatience, but with genuine kindness. By the time the plate was empty, Lily was leaning slightly toward Sarah as if she wanted to stay close. Sarah smiled and brushed a strand of hair from the girl's forehead. "You did so well tonight." When it came time to pay, the man reached into his wallet, but Sarah shook her head. "Dinner's on me tonight," she said. He frowned slightly. "That's not necessary. I know. But I want to." There was a pause and then he simply nodded. "Thank you," he said quietly. As he wheeled Lily toward the door, the girl turned her head and lifted her small hand in a wave. Sarah waved back and felt a strange tug in her heart as they disappeared into the night. She did not know that the man she had just met was one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in the state. Nor did she know that he would not forget her face or the way she had fed his daughter with such love. The next morning Sarah arrived at the diner before sunrise as she always did. She brewed the first pot of coffee and began arranging the tables. Her thoughts kept drifting to the man and the little girl from the night before. She wondered if they were regulars or if they had simply been passing through. She did not even know their names beyond the girl being called Lily. Yet there had been something about them that stayed with her through the night. By mid-morning the diner was filling with the usual crowd of truck drivers and retirees. The bell over the door rang and Sarah turned expecting another familiar face, but instead she saw him again. The same tall figure in the dark coat, now dry and neat. Lily sat in her wheelchair, her hair brushed and tied with a pale blue ribbon. "Good morning," Sarah said warmly. "You are back." "Yes," the man replied. "Lily wanted to come here again." Sarah's heart softened. "Well, I am glad she did. Let me get you your table." They settled into the same spot by the window. Sarah brought them water and a hot chocolate for Lily without being asked. This time the man ordered a full breakfast for both of them, and when the plates arrived Sarah again offered to help feed the girl. Lily's face lit up at the sight of her and Sarah noticed her tiny hands twitching slightly as if in excitement. She took her time cutting the food and guiding each bite to Lily's mouth. Between bites she spoke softly, telling little stories about the diner and the regular customers. Lily seemed to listen intently, her eyes following every word. The man watched in silence again, but Sarah could feel his gaze. It was not intrusive but thoughtful, as though he was trying to understand something about her. After they finished eating, Sarah brought a small plate with a muffin. "This is for you, Lily," she said. "A treat for being such a good breakfast partner." The girl smiled faintly and took a small bite with Sarah's help. When the man went to pay this time, Sarah did not protest. But before he left he said, "My name is Daniel. Thank you for what you do for my daughter." "It is nothing," Sarah said softly. "She is a wonderful little girl." Daniel gave a small nod. "Maybe we will see you again." They left and Sarah stood at the counter watching them cross the street. She had no way of knowing that Daniel was already thinking about how to see her again. Later that week on a rainy afternoon, the diner was nearly empty when Daniel walked in once more. He was alone this time. Sarah's heart sank a little when she saw no wheelchair. She hoped nothing had happened to Lily. "Is everything all right?" she asked. "Lily is fine," Daniel said. "She is at her therapy session. I came to ask you something." Sarah felt a flicker of curiosity. "Go ahead. Would you be willing to help care for her a few hours a week?" he asked. "She seems to respond to you in a way that is rare. I can arrange transportation and payment." Sarah hesitated. She had never considered working as a caregiver outside her family before. But she thought of Lily's smile and how natural it had felt to help her. "I would like that," she said finally. Daniel's eyes softened. "Good. I will give you the details." From that day Sarah began visiting their home twice a week. The first time she arrived she was struck by the size and elegance of the house. The high ceilings, the polished wood floors, and the quiet hum of a large place filled with memories. She met Lily's nurse and learned her routines. She discovered that Lily loved music, especially soft piano melodies. Sarah would read to her, help her eat, and sometimes wheel her out into the garden where bright flowers grew in careful arrangements. Lily seemed happiest when Sarah was near, often making small sounds of joy. Daniel would sometimes join them in the garden. He rarely spoke much, but his presence was steady. Over time Sarah began to see a gentler side of him when he was with his daughter. She saw the way he knelt to adjust her blanket or brushed her hair with patient hands. One afternoon as the sun set behind the tall hedges, Daniel lingered in the garden after Sarah had put Lily inside. He said quietly, "I have not seen her this lively in years. You have a gift. Sarah shook her head. It is not a gift. It is just love. Daniel looked at her for a long moment as though weighing those words.